Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. I'm Fred Jones, and this is episode 203.
And I'm Daphne Blake. It is so great to be here with you all.
So Daphne, I want you to picture this. You've just finished a completely normal workday. You close your laptop, you stand up from your desk, and instead of just feeling, physically tired, you realize there's this weird...
Like a buzzing fog.
Yes. Exactly, a buzzing fog inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
You wander into the kitchen, right, to figure out what to make for dinner, and you find yourself just staring blankly into the fridge.
Totally paralyzed by the decision between, like, pasta or chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
You are mentally tapped out in a way that feels entirely new. And this is despite the fact that you spent the whole day using all these brand new AI tools that were supposedly designed to do the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, it's a very specific, almost mechanical kind of exhaustion. You aren't just tired. Your cognitive battery is basically flashing red. Your brain is really struggling to perform basic executive functions at that point.
And that exact feeling is what we are exploring today.
Oh.
Our mission is to figure out why AI, which is, the ultimate highly hyped productivity booster of our era, why it's actually exhausting us. We want to know what it is physically doing to our neural pathways and, most importantly, how you can reclaim your mental edge.
It is such an important topic.
Oh, totally. We are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources today. It's all anchored by a LinkedIn article from March 17th, 2026 by Dr. J. Andrew Kuypers. It's called AI Brain Fry and How to Fix It.
Great article.
Yeah, it really is. We've also got supporting research from Harvard Business Review, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Microsoft, and the BBC.
It's a really comprehensive stack of data, Fred. And it all points to a phenomenon that is fundamentally shifting how we experience our daily work.
I mean, we all thought getting AI at the office would be like getting a chauffeur,
Oh, yeah.
You just sit in the back seat, you sip your coffee, and you tell the machine where to go. But instead, it feels a lot more like giving the steering wheel to an overly confident toddler.
That is terrifying.
Right. Sure, they are technically driving, but you're sitting in the passenger seat sweating. Your foot is phantom braking every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You're just ready to grab the wheel. You're 10 times more stressed than if you just drove the car yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's unpack this. If we are giving the keys to this overly confident toddler, what is that constant state of panic actually called in the medical literature?
Well, Dr. Kuypers defines this specific condition as AI brain fry.
AI brain fry.
Yeah. And to really understand it, you have to look at the fundamental difference between actually doing a task yourself and overseeing a task.
Okay, right.
Because traditional burnout, the kind we're all used to, is usually rooted in emotional exhaustion.
Like having a terrible boss or something.
Exactly. Feeling undervalued, dealing with workplace conflict, or just having an unmanageable volume of tasks over several years. But AI brain fry is purely cognitive. Purely cognitive.
Right. It happens when the intense demands of supervising these supposedly helpful AI agents push right past our human neurological limits.
Wow. And we actually have the data to prove this isn't just, a collective illusion. There's a 2026 Harvard Business Review study by David Kirkpatrick, and he looked at 1,488 U.S. workers.
That's a solid sample size.
It really is. And they found that 14% of AI users are already experiencing this severe brain fry. And those numbers climb even higher in fields that heavily rely on content generation and data analysis.
Like marketing and software engineering, I imagine.
Exactly. Those exact fields.
The statistics on what happens when workers hit this state of cognitive overload are incredibly concerning, honestly.
Yeah.
When that buzzing fog rolls in, your attention to detail basically collapses. Kirkpatrick's data in that HBR piece shows minor mistakes jump by 11%. But the major errors, like the systemic failures that cost companies massive amounts of money or completely ruin projects, those spike by 39%.
39%. That is huge.
It is, and perhaps the most telling stat of all, the desire to quit one's job climbs to 39% among heavy AI users.
Which brings us to this wild paradox at the center of all this. Because that same HBR data shows that AI does actually reduce burnout from repetitive, mundane tasks by 15%.
Right.
It is successfully taking the boring stuff off our plates.
Yeah, it really is doing that.
But the intense oversight required to babysit these tools is amplifying this brand new mental strain. And that strain might actually be worse than the boredom ever was.
It's a complete swap. You are basically trading a low-level emotional annoyance for a high-level cognitive drain.
But let me challenge that premise for a second, Daphne. Isn't this just the exact same screen fatigue we've been complaining about for over a decade?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, we've always had way too many browser tabs open, right? Or we sit on back-to-back video calls until our eyes basically cross. How is managing an AI agent any different than just multitasking on a computer like we always have?
What's fascinating here is that I'd argue it's not even in the same biological ballpark as having 20 browser tabs open.
Really? How so?
Well, with browser tabs, your brain is simply cataloging information. Your consumption is relatively passive, you're just scanning.
Okay, yeah.
But when you are supervising an AI, you are interacting with a seemingly intelligent agent that generates completely novel outputs. You aren't just reading, you are actively interrogating.
Wow, actively interrogating.
You have to remember that large language models don't actually know facts. They are essentially just highly advanced predictive text. They just guess the next most likely word in a sentence.
Right, which leads to problems.
Exactly. Because of that, they can string together perfectly plausible sounding lies, which the tech world obviously calls hallucinations.
So you are playing editor to a machine that can write 1,000 words a minute with absolute unwavering confidence. And your brain is just screaming, wait, is that citation actually real?
Yes. And finding the answer to that question forces your brain into a state of hypervigilance. You are constantly scanning for those really subtle logic errors or fake facts. And doing that drains completely different cognitive reserve than simply reading a web page.
So if actively doubting a machine drains entirely different cognitive reserves, there has to be a biological footprint for that. Can we actually see this hypervigilance on a brain scan?
We can. And this is where we look at a really eye-opening preprint paper from June 2025.
Okay.
It's by Kosmina and her colleagues at MIT, titled Your Brain on ChatGPT.
I love that title.
Right. And they didn't just ask people how they felt. They actually cracked 54 participants over 4 months while they did large language model-assisted essay writing.
4 months?
Yeah. And they hooked them up to EEG machines to measure the electrical activity in their brains. This is where they introduced this medical concept called cognitive debt.
Cognitive debt? That sounds like a terrifying new type of student loan for your brain.
The reality, honestly, isn't far off. The premise is that as your reliance on AI grows, your own internal cognitive activity scales down. Think of your brain's neural pathways, like a hiking trail.
Okay.
The more you walk it, the clearer the dirt path becomes. But when you let an AI structure your arguments for you, grass starts growing over your neural trail.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to put it.
Within 4 months, the MIT researchers found that the people heavily using AI to write essays actually showed significantly weaker connectivity in the processing areas of their brains.
So their brains were literally lighting up less on the monitors because they just weren't walking the trail.
Yes. And the truly alarming part was what happened when the researchers took the AI tools away. When those participants had to switch back to writing without the tools, they exhibited severe underengagement.
What does that actually look like?
Well, if you were lying in that MRI machine after relying on ChatGPT all week, your alpha waves, which are the ones that help you stay calmly focused, and your beta waves, which handle active analytical problem solving, they would essentially be flatlining. Both sets of brain waves were heavily suppressed.
So they accumulated this cognitive debt, and the behavioral results were basically disastrous.
Absolutely.
The Kosmina research noted these participants had lower ownership of their work, significantly poorer memory recall of what they had literally just written, and the actual linguistic complexity of their writing dropped.
It's like they forgot how to sound like themselves.
Wow. And it's not just MIT finding this. There was a joint study from Carnegie Mellon and Microsoft that tracked 319 white-collar workers. They directly linked heavy AI dependence to an erosion of critical thinking skills over time.
It creates this dangerous feedback loop of over-reliance.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition by coaching you in AI. So Daphne, here's where it gets really interesting for me. This reminds me so much of what happened when we all got GPS on our phones.
Oh, yes. The GPS effect.
Right. Before smartphones, if you moved to a new city, you had to build a mental map. You memorized landmarks, you knew which way was north, you actively engaged with your environment.
Right, you had to.
Now, you just type an address into your phone and blindly follow the blue dot. And as a result, a lot of people has completely lost their natural sense of direction.
Yep.
Like, they can't navigate their own neighborhoods without a screen telling them to turn left. Are we basically outsourcing our brain's workout routine to an AI, causing our mental muscles to atrophy in the exact same way?
That is a perfect parallel, Fred. In fact, a BBC News report by George Sandeman from December 2025 specifically noted this correlation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They found that reliance on tools like ChatGPT directly correlates with lower overall brain activity in our cognitive networks.
Wow.
If you don't use the neural pathways responsible for structuring an argument, synthesizing research, or framing a complex problem, those pathways weaken. You are quite literally letting the machine do your mental push-ups and then wondering why your own arms are getting weak.
Man. So if we know the neural trail is getting overgrown, we have to look at the daily habits causing the damage. I mean, nobody wakes up and says, I think I'll atrophy my brain today.
Definitely not.
How are we forcing our brains into this state of underengagement on a daily basis?
It comes back to the mechanics of that oversight we mentioned earlier. When you manage multiple AI agents, you aren't just clicking a button and walking away.
Right, it's not magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Researchers break the workflow down into 3 really demanding phases. You have building the complex prompt, directing the agent's iterative process, and then thoroughly verifying the final output.
I want to dig into the how of that.
Yeah.
Because the HBR data puts a hard number on the cost of that workflow. It found that high AI supervision leads to 14% more mental effort, 12% greater fatigue, and 19% more information overload compared to traditional workflows.
Yes.
Why is the mental effort so much higher just to check someone else's work?
Because of dual processing. Think about it. When you write an email or a report yourself, your brain follows a single linear logical thread.
Sure, you know what you want to say and you write it. But when you verify an AI's output, your brain has to reverse engineer the AI's logic to figure out how it arrived at its conclusion. And you have to do that while simultaneously holding your own desired outcome in your working memory to compare the two. That constant dual processing is exactly what causes the 14% spike in mental effort. It completely exhausts your working memory.
Which perfectly explains what Dr. Kuypers calls the rule of 3.
Exactly.
There is this corporate myth that if one AI tool makes you 10% faster, 5 tools will make you 50% faster. But human cognition doesn't scale like software. Kuypers found that productivity actually peaks when a worker's utilizing 1 or 2 AI tools. Once you introduce a 3rd tool, productivity actively declines.
It just plummets.
Because the human brain is simply not built to constantly context switch and dual process across multiple generative AI agents. Your working memory overflows and you just crash. It's the absolute perfect storm for cognitive overload. And we actually have a terrifying example of what happens when that overload hits a high-stakes environment.
Let's hear it.
Look at the March 2024 report from Harvard Medical School News. They studied radiologists using AI to help interpret chest x-rays.
Okay, super high stakes.
Right. And while the AI aided some clinicians, it actually hindered the decision-making of others.
Wait, what specifically went wrong when they trusted the AI?
It triggered something called anchoring bias. When the fatigued radiologists saw the AI draw a bounding box around a suspected issue on the x-ray, their tired brains eagerly latched onto that suggestion to just save energy.
Wow.
Because they anchored so heavily on the AI's confident prediction, they completely missed actual tumors that were sitting just outside the AI's designated box.
Oh my gosh.
The human in the loop was either wasting energy second-guessing themselves or, conversely, blindly trusting a flawed AI analysis because they were just too neurologically exhausted to verify it properly.
Wait, I have to point out the absolute hypocrisy of corporate messaging here.
Please do.
The C-suite buys an enterprise license for a new AI platform, right? They hand it to the staff and essentially say, great, The AI does the work now, so we expect triple the output by Friday.
Yep, happens every day.
But they completely ignore the biological reality that verifying an AI's hallucination, chasing down a fake medical citation, fixing a broken line of code, correcting a weirdly phrased client email, they can actually take longer than just doing the work yourself from scratch.
Absolutely.
It makes me wonder, is the corporate hype actually more dangerous to our productivity than the tech itself?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the hype is absolutely the accelerant here. Dr. Kuypers notes that overstated promises from industry leaders encourage aggressive, sometimes reckless adoption.
Yeah.
Companies roll these tools out without safeguards, without training, and without adjusting their deadlines. Unclear AI strategies elevate worker strain by 12%. By buying into the hype, organizations leave the individual workers to bear the massive cognitive cost of making the flawed deck actually function.
The grim reality is that the corporate landscape isn't going to change overnight. I mean, your boss is probably still going to send you breathless articles about how AI is going to 10x your output.
Oh, definitely.
So we need to pivot to solutions for our listeners.
Yeah.
Given all of this neurological data, what are the actionable strategies for you listening right now to protect your mind today? How do we clear the buzzing fog?
We tackle this on two fronts, Fred. The organizational level and the individual level.
Okay.
At the organizational level, the data gives us very clear mandates. First, enforce the rule of 3. Limit the number of AI agents to a maximum of 2 per user.
Love that. Keep it simple.
Second, managers must provide active guidance. The research shows that when managers actually take the time to answer queries and help define the AI scope for their team, it cuts employee fatigue by 15% compared to leaving staff to just figure it out alone. Also, emphasizing work-life boundaries yields a massive 28% lower rate of AI-related fatigue. Leaders really have to start rewarding the impact of the work rather than the sheer volume of activity generated by the AI.
But, since we can't always control our managers, what do we do at the individual level?
You have to fundamentally shift the AI's role in your daily life. Stop using it as a crutch to outsource your core thinking and start using it as a tutor. This was a major recommendation from both the BBC article and OpenAI's own guidance. If you are a coder, ask it to explain a new framework to you rather than asking it to write the final code. Use it to targetedly enhance your learning, not to perform the final miles of your cognitive labor.
And to actively fight off that cognitive debt, the researchers recommend something called the alternation technique.
Yes.
This means you deliberately alternate between using the AI tool and doing independent tool-free practice. You maintain your neural health by forcing your brain to walk that hiking trail regularly.
You have to.
You have to lean heavily into human-only strengths. Things AI is mathematically incapable of doing. Things like intuition, true imagination, genuine creativity, and most importantly, problem framing.
Exactly.
AI is great at answering questions, but knowing what question to ask in the first place is purely human.
Because problem framing requires context and empathy and lived experience. An AI can generate 1,000 solutions in 10 seconds, but only a human can look at the landscape of a business or a community and decide which problem is actually worth solving.
So what does this all mean? To me, all of this brings up a gym spotter analogy.
Oh, I like that.
You should treat AI like a spotter at the gym. The AI is standing behind the bench, making sure you don't drop the barbell on your chest if you fail a rep. It's keeping you safe and helping you push your limits.
Right.
But you still have to lift the heavy weights yourself if you want your muscles to get stronger. The spotter can't lift the bar for you, or you get literally nothing out of the workout.
That's a great way to think about it.
But here's my pushback, Daphne. How on earth can a listener practically enforce this alternation technique when their boss is breathing down their neck for a deadline at 4 p.m.? When the pressure is on, isn't it just human nature to let the machine lift the weight?
It is entirely human nature to take the path of least cognitive resistance, which is exactly why you cannot rely on willpower alone.
Okay.
You have to design intentional friction into your day. Scheduling is your absolute best defense against cognitive debt. You must block out specific periods of the day, maybe just the first 90 minutes of your morning, where your AI tools are turned off entirely.
Just completely unplugged from that.
Yes. Close the tabs, disable the plugins, force your brain back into eye engagement mode to draft that initial outline or write that tricky email or frame that overall strategy.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoon, when your natural cognitive energy dips anyway, turn the tools back on to help with the lower stakes work like editing, formatting, or sorting data. You have to actively build the boundaries, or the AI will consume your entire workflow. That is the only sustainable way to work alongside these systems without bringing out your neurological circuits.
Let's bring this all together. The big takeaway from this discussion of the source material is validating exactly what you might be feeling. AI brain fry is a real, scientifically measurable phenomenon.
It absolutely is.
If you are ending your day with that buzzing fog, you are not crazy, you are not lazy, and you are not just getting old. Your brain is accumulating cognitive debt from the intense, unnatural demands of constant AI oversight and dual processing. The paradox is real. These tools save time on the boring stuff, but they drain your highest-level cognitive reserves.
And the solution requires a deliberate, disciplined step back from all the hype.
Remember the rules of engagement we covered today. Keep your AI tools to a minimum, no more than 2 at a time. Demand clear guidance from your leadership on what the scope of these tools actually is. And above all, never outsource your core critical thinking. You are in control of your workflow. AI's benefits are going to shine the brightest when you actively protect your own cognitive core. Set those hard boundaries. Build in that intentional friction so you don't just become an exhausted AI babysitter.
This raises an important question, Fred. If everyone else around you in your industry is blindly outsourcing their thinking to machines, allowing their critical faculties to atrophy and accumulating massive cognitive debt, what if the ultimate competitive advantage of the future isn't how well you can prompt an AI, but how brilliantly you can think without one?
Oh, I absolutely love that. The human mind as the ultimate premium feature. Thank you so much for joining us on this topic today, Daphne.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Please buy us a coffee, and remember that we're experts at coaching you and your employees about AI. We'll see you next time.